Hello, 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 family. Welcome, welcome, welcome to today's healing session. So, I have some cards, I have some crystals. Of course, we're going to cleanse the aura, and I'm going to tell you the story of my healing journey. So, the first energy healing I've ever had. And so, I want to share this with you just to let you know that it can be a little intimidating to want to do an energy healing. And for me, it was because I didn't know what I didn't know. And so I'm going to share with you what actually ended up happening to me. But first, just to remind you, I do give a 30-minute live energy healing session to all who need it. It is free of cost. I just ask you to write a review on my site, and you can find that information in the link in the description box below. I'm so excited for the people who are taking this opportunity, and I'm so excited to work with you towards your healing journey. So let's get started today, and as always, with your permission, can I say a prayer? It is not a religious prayer, just a prayer to connect us together. So may I say a prayer? Wonderful. Dear Mother, Father God, and all those here for our greatest good, please connect us. Allow us to be a community together, to uplift each other and to connect to each other's healing journey. Let the only things come up be for our highest good so that we may all benefit from the healing of ourselves and of others. Please give us the guidance from the archangels, the ascended masters, the Reiki masters, the wisdom teachers, Master Jesus, Master Buddha, Master Katumi, and the Metatron healing race. I say all of this in the power of I am. I am. And of course, as I always say, I am is a powerful statement. If we say I am something negative, then that's what we start to visualize in our life. If we say I am something strong, nurturing, positive, that's what you focus on, and what you focus on grows. That's why I am is so important. So let's connect together. Take a deep breath, filling up. Exhale, let it go. 2 more breaths, inhale. Exhale, let it go. Final breath. Exhale, let it go. Okay, and so I have some oracle cards, and I just purchased a new deck that I really wanted, and it's very common. People actually have seen it before. It's called the Goddess Guidance Oracle Card Deck by Doreen Virtue, and I heard great reviews about it. And when I was going to purchase it, I was at an expo, and they didn't have the deck there, but I met a lady who was searching for oracle cards too, and she had picked up the Moonology deck. That's the deck that I was using the last time that we met, and she was interested in it. And I asked her, have you ever used the Goddess deck? And she said, yes, I use it, and I really use it at kind of a sacred time of the month. And I was like, oh, that's very interesting. So I just thought it was unique that she knew about the deck. The deck wasn't there. And then she was also looking at that deck that I had already had. And so I just took it as a sign to go ahead and take a leap. It's an inexpensive deck. I believe I paid maybe $12 for it, but it's super beautiful. And so I pulled these cards, and I actually have no clue what they are. So we're going to learn about them together. And I have some healing crystals with us too. I have this amethyst wand that I picked up, and it's a deep dark purple, and that is for healing, protection, clarity. That is for the crown chakra. It is said that if you start your crystal collection off with any stone, you want to start it off with an amethyst, because it has so many things. It has that clearing, it has that protection, it has I want to say creativity as well. I always feel creative with it. And so that's a very important stone for you, just in general, towards your healing journey. And I also got this stone. It's called calcite. And the reason why I was drawn to this is because I did a healing session yesterday, and I used selenite, calcite, and some other stones. And the person I was doing the healing session on, they really resonated towards this calcite. And what drew me to it was that it's just a really big stone. And I was like, oh, I need to get this. I need to get this stone. But when I was clearing out their chakra system, I noticed that when it got to the sacral and the solar plexus, that this stone was really resonating with them. So I said, you know what? How about creativity? How about confidence? How about just an overall stone for joy and happiness and guidance? So that's what I'm bringing into our session today. And again, we also have our healing steam, just to heal out our aura and to continue just to remove any negativity. So let's get to our cards. So here's the first card. I'm going to flip it over. Ooh, okay, I'm going to show you what it is. How wonderful. It says, Aria Cura, blossoming. You are just getting started. You have patience with yourself in the process, and do not give up. So this is indicating that the community today, that we are on that healing process, and not only that, but we are blossoming. I was just thinking the other day that I had quite a rough transition in 2016. And I wondered, well, was it that life was necessarily bad? And when I thought about it, I was like, no, it actually wasn't that life was bad. It was more like there was just a lot of change. There was a transition and there was a blossoming. It was a time in my life where I was going into the next step of life, because years before, though there had been a lot of change, I had not changed. The cornerstone of who I was pretty much the same. Just situations, people, scenarios had changed. But going on this healing journey with my own self-help, and also stepping in to be a healer and going on my learning path, has been very blossoming for myself. I realized that what I was interpreting as something negative then became something that was actually nudging me in the direction that I should have been, that I could no longer be in the direction that I was before. Okay, so Aria Cura. Very beautiful. And that's what the amethyst was drawn to. So just know that you have protection. You're allowed to be patient. And usually when we worry a lot, that's when we can't be patient with ourselves. So that amethyst is indicating, because it was drawn to this card and I hadn't seen these cards yet. So it just means that you are protected on your path to patience and blossoming into who you need to be. So don't give up. Here's our next card. Oh, nice. And this is actually the card on the front of the deck. And I was just looking at it yesterday, like, that is such a beautiful just visualization. I don't know if you can tell, but right here, there's like a little castle. And I just like how it really points to our high priestess. So it represents the high priestess. Dana, you have divine knowledge that can help others through your spiritual teaching. And that's what we were just talking about right now. And remember, you don't have to do necessarily spiritual work like being a healer or being in that kind of space to have this divine knowledge. You can be whatever it is you are and really invoke that healing and invoke the protection of those archangels looking out for you, of all those wisdom teachers that shared so much in their lives. And so this is a card as a community that we are drawn to right now, in order to just say, look, you got to be patient while you're blossoming, because deep down, this is what you have on the inside. So beautiful. And you know what? I am actually going to flip these cards around so you can sit and ponder them. And then our last card, let's see what this is. Ooh, that was upside down. So I actually have been getting this card over and over and over again. And this is what the calcite was sitting on top. I'm going to say that it's matte. And the interpretation of the card, it says fairness. This situation will be handled in a fair and just manner. So what this brings up for me in this card is that if you feel that something has been done unjustly to you or around you, or something you're passionate about, and you may have felt this transition in 2016, a lot of things happened in the world at that time, shifts energetically. Just know that it's going to be handled. You're probably used to things resolving itself in a quicker motion, that you see things come to light in a very quicker way. But this is just letting us know, yes, you've been waiting longer to see this transition and to see it be handled with fairness, but just know it's coming. Just know it's coming. And so we have this card of joy. Just know that card, crystal of joy. Just know that that joy is coming, so that if you have been facing any anxiety, any depression, any worry that may have been caused by certain things in your life, or maybe just been dormant in your life in the past couple of years, have been a little bit difficult to really find your grounding or find your hope, just know that this joy is coming and things will be handled fairly. And it is super duper duper important that you do not give up, because during this time of transition, this is your blossoming. You can use this opportunity now to grow, but sometimes we want to grow when it's not as aggressive and when things are calmer, but really you're actually finding your strength and you're finding your divine knowledge during this time. So don't give up, because you're protected. You may be worrying, you may be stressed, you may be experiencing physical ailments, but do not give up, because this is actually your time of birth. So we have our cards right now, and I'm drawn to both of these stones right now. So as we're doing our healing for today, I'm going to tell you about the first time that I was healed. So take a deep breath in, filling up to your root chakra. Exhale, let it go. Every time you breathe in, I want you to imagine you're breathing in positive, rejuvenating energy. And every time you exhale, I want you to imagine you're releasing something, because we're just connecting this energy up and down, allowing it to be part of our self-care, self-love, and our self-healing practice. I'm doing this energetic work on you, and healing defies space and time. And you are also doing the healing on yourself, because no matter how strong or powerful I am, you are the strongest healer in your life. You are the person who is able to create the most sustaining change. And remember, I can initiate a healing process in you, but it's you who really does the work. It's you who decides to change the environment, the belief systems, and to really anchor in those new patterns of self-healing and love. So again, take another deep breath into that root chakra, and exhale, let go. Just pushing energy out. Okay, now for me to share that healing experience. So the first energy healing experience I had, I must have been maybe 20. So that was almost a decade ago. And I was drawn to this healing experience because I had heard of some friends going to meet a Sangoma. And what a Sangoma is a traditional healer who communicates with ancestors. And what they do is they communicate with the ancestors in your lineage in order to kind of give you guidance in life, to know that, you may feel lonely or feel by yourself, but you're always supported by your lineage, here to protect you, here to guide you, and that people incarnate in groups of people, in lineages and protection, not in a scary way, but in a way to know that if you ever feel lonely, you're supported and you are loved deeper than you ever know. And so I was very interested in that. And so I started doing the research there. Continue to take another breath in. I started to do the research in that. I could not find a Sangoma. So I said, okay, I'll let that go. But I did see a traditional shaman, so shamanic healing. And I said, okay, well, let me try that out. And I just knew nothing about the healing process. I had already had a meditation practice. I had known of, healers. I think the most I could understand at that moment was like if somebody was a medium or clairvoyant, but I didn't know about actually energy healing itself. And so I just showed up blind. Let me tell you, I showed up at this person's business, which was their house, blind. I knew nothing. I told no one because I knew no one would understand. And, in hindsight, just let somebody know where you're going, just in general, just let somebody know where you're going. And I just showed up and I'm like, the universe brought me here and I'm just going to do this thing. So I showed up at the door and this man opened the door and he must have been in his 30s at that time. So go ahead, I'm moving this up to your sacral now. Take a deep breath in. Exhale. So he was in his 30s, and from my memory, I feel like he might have been of Irish descent. And he was just very kind and very caring. He invites me in his house. I'm looking around. Very regular looking house, very nice house. He had dogs, very nice dogs, good energy, playful. And then he leads me into his basement. And so, as a woman, you're always mindful if somebody's leading you into a basement, but that was just his healing space. And so it was very peaceful out there. He had a back door to the outside, and it was open. And so, if I needed to, I could make a run for it. But that wasn't the energy I was getting. But let me tell you, the most startling thing I noticed was that I looked up and I looked to the left, and there was this huge glaring picture of Jesus staring right back at me. And I was just completely confused because in the upbringing that I had religiously, it had no space to understand that healers could have a connection to God or even like Christianity or something like that. And so I just saw Jesus looking back at me and I was very much so intimidated. I was like, I came for this shaman and, I couldn't fathom that this traditional type of healing could be anchored in not just a religious lineage, but even prior to that, that it was using what it needed, that it wasn't necessarily the negative parts of what we see in some of our wisdom traditions, but it was the best parts of it. And so I said, okay, well, I'm going to go with it. So he's setting up and he's really nice. And he had me stand in a triangle. And so I'm standing in the triangle and he starts to say a prayer and he's putting burning sage around me. And the next startling thing that happened for me was he said, repeat after me. And I said, okay. He said, I love myself. I trust myself. And I know that God is here for my protection. And he said, just repeat after me. And I was saying, I love myself. I trust myself. And I know that God is here for my protection. And like even saying it right now, it's bringing some tears to my eyes because at that moment, it felt so uncomfortable to say it because I had faced so much trauma and emotional pain in my life that I did not feel comfortable with myself, that I did not feel worthy of divine love. And I didn't even know that that's what my experience was. Continue to breathe here. So I'm still working with you. Moving up now to our solar plexus. And so in that healing space, I had been waiting for him to say what to do next. And in that moment, I actually, when I was repeating, I love myself, I trust myself, I'm deserving. In that moment, I started to feel very, very, very sick. And this is actually a concept called the healing crisis. I'm taking this up to your heart now. This is a concept called the healing crisis. And the healing crisis means that while you are taking negative or lower vibrational energy, so it's lower vibrational energy, out of your body actually has a natural reaction to it. Just like expelling. We have these energy systems, several. For example, in acupuncture and acupressure, we're using meridian systems they're manipulating that energy system. So as the energy is being released of those systems, the body has a physical response. And commonly it can be you get flu-like symptoms, you might get diarrhea, maybe a little achiness. It's the body is expelling. You ever go on a cleanse and you're expelling? And so I actually experienced it in the moment. And the reason why I was experiencing this discomfort was because I was resisting. When I look back on it now, I felt this energy inside of me clearing things out, and I was screaming for it to get out. Because what I actually had found out, continue to breathe here, is that I was so traumatized that my soul was actually hovering above my body, too afraid to be in the body. And what that usually comes up in your life looking at is that you don't want to deal with your problems, or you feel easily hurt, or easily, tender-hearted, easily upset. I had to maintain a lot of solitude. It was very difficult for me to connect with others without being in this kind of codependent pattern of just feeling like I'm being used and not necessarily voicing what I need. Moving this up to the throat as we're talking about voicing what we need. And so in that session, I got so weak that I literally dropped down to my knees. And he had to get out a healing table to finish what was going on. And then when we're done, he was clearing up the space energetically. Continue to breathe here. He was clearing up the space energetically. And I was just sitting there thinking, I was like, oh my gosh. I looked back at my life, and I looked at how I was so hopeful that someone would save me, because I had to grow up very quickly. Not only did I have to parent myself, but there were times where I felt like I had to parent my parent, where I had to be very level-headed, where there were times where I just, wanted to be a kid or a teenager or something like that. And I had to make the responsible choice to have to go out and work, or to have to make certain sacrifices. And on top of that, the experience of experiencing and seeing emotional trauma, substance abuse, sexual trauma, physical abuse as my everyday, reality. To see, honestly, really good people just dissolve over the weight of life for various reasons. And so in that moment, it all came together, and I realized that I had to save myself. Take this to your third eye, your intuition. And in saving myself, I decided that I was going to start taking my spiritual path more serious. And it was actually that moment where I stopped trying to be religious, and I just started to accept God in my life, the universe, source in my life, without feeling like it had to be a name. And the funny thing about it is I enjoyed going to church. I enjoyed going to the mosque. I enjoyed going to temple. I enjoyed being around people who really loved, God, or loved the universe, or, it doesn't even just have to be those kind of lineages. I really enjoyed that. But I also felt like I didn't necessarily have a community there, because I didn't need to just stick to one. I had a really difficult time refuting others and saying that this is the right way to do it. So I ended up settling in a Unitarian Universalist type of church. But as a woman of color, I also did want to see a little bit more color going on too, and people who were a bit younger in my age, but I really loved how they were very connected to systemic issues and social justice, and that, made me feel really good. But going on my actual healing path, we're going to move this up to your crown now, clearing that out. Going on to my actual healing path, I start to realize that now when I'm going to heal people and they're feeling resistance or anxiety come up, I know exactly how you feel. I've been there before. And the stronger your reaction, the greater indication that you maybe want to consider a spiritual path. And your spiritual path can be religious. If you want to anchor down in a certain wisdom tradition, that's fine. But I think you might want to be a little bit more open to just trusting that, and trusting that no matter what obstacle or opportunity that has come into your life, that you can navigate it, that no matter what trauma you faced, that there is a divine reason for you to make it out so that you can lead other people's out. So I just wanted to share that healing story to let you know that, look, I'm right here in the trenches with you. So take another deep breath in. We're filling up from the root all the way to the crown. Exhale from crown down. Inhale from the crown all the way down to the root. Inhale back up. Remember, when you're breathing up and you're going up, that's asking for wisdom and clarity. And when you're exhaling, going down, that's asking to be able to manifest whatever your gifts and your goals are. So again, just a couple more moments. I'm just going to clean out your aura. I'm just removing any negative vibrations. It can be very easy to get into just lower thinking because it just is a pattern. Like any pattern, we might do it and we might call it something else. So I'm going to smooth over your aura and I'm going to seal it with the sign of the infinity. To know that you are truly loved and you are truly valued in our community. So until next time, love yourself, take care of yourself, and know that if you would like a healing session, I can do it with you. 30 minutes. It doesn't cost you any money. And that information is in the description box below. But I'm here for you. So until next time.